Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my breakdown of UFC Fight Night Gamrot vs. Salkilld. We are back in the Apex. Who's excited? Let's get right into this, starting with the first fight of the night. Gigi Canuto, or Gigi, it's probably Gigi Canuto, versus Foro. And this is actually a pretty interesting fight. It was added today, I'm pretty sure. I was in the middle of researching the fights, and they're like, well, here's another one. Why don't you watch fight on these two girls? And the funny thing is, Gigi Canuto is on the Ultimate Fighter this season. So spoiler alert, she lost, and this is worse than the last one. Something Melisano, the last girl from the Ultimate Fighter who was in the UFC and got submitted in round 1. At least that one, they gave it a couple weeks. Gigi Canuto lost in the last episode of the Ultimate Fighter that came out like a couple days ago. I wasn't even caught up. I see she's on a UFC card, so I'm like, well, spoiler alert, she lost on the Ultimate Fighter. So I just watched that, and pretty disappointing stuff. I think she's pretty good. Like, I think Gigi Canuto is better than the Melisano girl who got submitted, especially because Canuto has very good jiu-jitsu. I would say that is by far her strong point. And let's talk about it. So her record says 7-1. It's really 8-2 because she has a win and a loss on the Ultimate Fighter. And the win was against this Indian woman, who I knew is gonna lose by knockout, because that's what happens. And Canuto just landed a teep up the middle, like a minute into the fight, and that Indian woman just folded to it under zero pressure. So that's the win. Now let's talk about the loss. She was fighting this girl named, I don't remember this girl's name, but it's the same girl who also beat the Melisano chick. So it's like, they're just, anybody who loses to this female on the Ultimate Fighter, they're just letting them into the UFC, and she's still on the Ultimate Fighter fighting for her place, which is just, doesn't make any sense. Regardless, Canuto fought her, and this girl, her back, like, this is documented on the Ultimate Fighter, her back was basically not working a day before, you know, like, she barely made it to the fight. They did, like, all this physical therapy just to get her into the cage, and Canuto had success early, taking her down, almost armbarred her a couple times, actually broke her arm with the armbar, but this other girl just decided to fight through it, and Canuto gassed after one round and got TKO'd in round 2 under zero pressure just because how much energy she used in the grappling in round 1. Now let's move on to her opponent, Foro, or Foho, I'd assume, because she's Brazilian. She's really good. She's 9-1. She's coming off of a win on the Ultimate Fighter, not the Ultimate Fighter, Contender Series, where she beat, what's this girl's name? Chanel Dyer. That's a prospect from the UK. She actually already made her debut. Chanel Dyer did, and she got a TKO in round 2, maybe, I believe. She TKO'd Ravena Oliveira, who's, I think she's actually on this card, so we'll get to her soon, and that might affect my pick. But regardless, Foro beat Chanel Dyer, and she put a beating on her, and Foro, she has a lot of power for a female. I think 7 out of her 9 wins are by knockout. There might be a couple submissions in there, but she has like a crazy amount of power. Dropped Chanel Dyer 3 different times in the Contender Series fight, and they both got a contract because it was like a very entertaining fight. But Chanel Dyer is lucky she got one, because it wasn't a back and forth. Even though like 2 of the judges gave Dyer the 3rd round, which I disagree with, regardless, she got her ass kicked for at least 2 of the rounds, getting dropped in both of them. One of them she got dropped twice. But yeah, she is the next Brazilian heavy puncher in the female division. We've been waiting for one for a while, and here she is. And I think she is going to knock out Canuto because she has good takedown defense, at least from what I saw. So, and Canuto is not a good wrestler. She's a good jiu-jitsu practitioner, let's just say. And if she can't get the takedowns, I think on the feet, even though she does have hands, I think she's going to get knocked out. I think it's going to be pretty brutal. I'm going to say round 2 knockout after getting dropped multiple times in round 1. We are going with Foro. Let's move on. And also, one more thing I just want to say before we're done. This is the most I will ever break down a female fight. Foro she won on Contender Series, which means she was getting ready to make her debut for a while now. Canuto was on the Ultimate Fighter a couple weeks ago. She had no intentions of coming to the UFC anytime soon. She's probably thinking, I gotta get a couple more wins. But because the UFC has so many fucking events, and they just don't want to miss a week, they have to, like this event only had 11 fights before this, so they just had to smush something in there. So they're like, I guess who's available? Gigi Canuto. She's fucking hot. Get her in, you know? So I don't think she's prepared for this, because this was very short notice. Anyway, let's move on to another female fight. Just what we asked for. Juliana Miller versus Ravena Oliveira. I'm picking Juliana Miller, but this feels like picking between trash and garbage. You know what I mean? Like, both of these females suck. Juliana Miller has an amazing 5-4 performance record, and I looked on Tapology, it's 4-4, so I don't really know what this one win where it's coming from. But regardless, Juliana Miller has something that Ravena Oliveira doesn't, and that is a win in the UFC. In fact, I think she might even have 2 wins in the UFC. Whoa! Ravena Oliveira, I think she's 0-3 in the UFC. She has lost by decision, submission, and TKO, the Great Trinity, let's just say. And so I think Miller is going to beat her by decision, but they're both dog shit, like, whatever. I don't know what it looks like for Oliveira to win. So I think Miller can pull this one off. She's not good, but she can at least beat the bottom level of UFC, and I think that's what Oliveira is. So I am picking her. Let's move on to Miles Johns versus Jessie Rosas. And Jessie Rosas is Raul Rosas' older brother. The thing is, he's better on the feet than Raul Rosas. Like, he actually has decent boxing and okay kicks. But at the same time, he's not as dominant of a grappler. And I've been watching his fights. He's 8-1, as you can see. The problem is, it looks like a good record on paper. When you start looking at who he beat and who he lost to, the guy he lost to was 6-5 at the time. So, and then he went on to lose. Like, I think now his record is like 8-7 or something like that. So after that, he lost again and won again. So basically, he lost to a trash can. And then besides for that, all of his wins are against like 0-2 opponents, like Khabib Nurmagomedov type of wins, you know? And his only like decent win is his last one, where it took him I think it was in the 5th round that he finished the guy. And the guy was like 37 with a, I think 23-10 record. And Jessie Rosas, it still took him 4 rounds to put him away, and the guy was a victim right away. Like, this is the type of guy that Miles Johns would knock out in round 1, you know? And it was still I won't call it competitive, but it took Jessie Rosas way too long to put him away. And I think it was by submission. He didn't even TKO the guy. And so let's talk about Miles Johns. Miles Johns, he's not good. Like, nobody's going to go around calling him good. But I do think if you look at the people he's losing to, which he's been losing a lot recently, he's losing to people who are like just outside the rankings, like Gene Matsumoto. You know, that's somebody who losing to him, it's not that bad. I mean, Bekzat Almakhan just lost to him, I think. And so are we going to start saying Bekzat Almakhan's not that good? Like, I just think that he is more proven in the UFC, and he also lost to that other guy, what's his name? Felipe Lima, who gave Peyton Talbot a run for his money, did better than Henry Cejudo, and now he's coming off of a loss to Daniel Marcos. But and then they cut Daniel Marcos. I don't know why. But again, Daniel Marcos is also somebody who was ranked for a little bit, I believe, and if not, I think should have been at some point. Daniel Marcos even he beat Adrian Yanez, which is a pretty good win, at least now it is. And so I think Miles Johns, like, he has losses, but he's only lost to like really good people in the UFC, and Jessie Rosas is just not proven. Look, if he somehow, like, Miles Johns also hard to take down. I know he's coming off a submission loss, but like, again, against better opponents, I don't think Rosas will have that much success with the takedowns. And on the feet, I think he's in a lot of danger, and Miles Johns should be able to knock him out. But again, if Rosas ends up being a contender, amazing. I just haven't seen anything from him to say that. I'm not just going to go based off his record this time, because this time I did some research. And so if this backfires and Rosas wins, I'm never doing research again, and I'm just going to keep to the old formula. But I do think that Miles Johns will be better on the feet. And Rosas, I've seen sometimes when he gets hit with clean shots, like in the 8-1, one of those wins is just a DQ win, because he was in the middle of getting TKO'd, and the guy illegally kneed him in the face. So, like, very bad body language from that, too. I'm going to be picking Miles Johns by TKO round 2. Let's move on to Manuel Sousa versus Richie Miranda. I didn't do a lot of research into Richie Miranda. I believe he was like the LFA champion or something like that, which is pretty good. But Manuel Sousa is just a fucking beast. He's coming off of a round 3 TKO over Balaji Yoki. And before that, he knocked out the guy in the Contender Series, I think also in the 3rd round or maybe 2nd round. And he has a win over Mauricio Rufy by flatline KO, which is really impressive. This is not a BSD submitting him in round 2 when Rufy like showed up half dead. You know, this is like prime Rufy. Well, we're still with, I think now actually we're prime Rufy, so young Rufy we'll call him. And Sousa just flatlined him. And what I like about Sousa is that he doesn't always get round 1 KOs. He has KOs in the 2nd round, in the 3rd round. He has a couple submissions on his record. I think he's the one who I saw the submissions. So it wasn't that girl. I think that girl had all the TKOs. Anyway, he can win. He's pretty well-rounded, and his power goes on throughout the rounds. So even if you do manage to survive round 1 with Sousa, round 2 and 3, he's still in your face, still throwing bombs, and I think he's going to flatline Richie Miranda. I don't know much about him, but I think Sousa is gonna be like a big prospect. He's already a big prospect. I think he's going to be a big contender, and I don't think Richie Miranda is the guy to beat him. But Richie's pretty good too, 13-1 record, so you never know. I didn't do a lot of research on him because there's so many fights, and I didn't know half of the people, because what are we doing? Why are we in the Apex? What's crazy is, like, I had this feeling that because of the last 2 or 3 fight nights where, I mean, the last fight night was really good, but not on paper. Like, on paper, there was no name value. I thought we're, like, we're in store for a good card. I thought UFC 330 was this week, and then I open it up. I'm like, oh, there's this first. We have to get through this just to get to 330, which is also dog shit, as everybody knows. Anyway, I'm picking Manuel Sousa by TKO round 1. But maybe round 2. Who knows? Anyway, let's move on to Louie Sutherland versus Jose Montanha de Silva. Nice. Anything else you want to cram in there while you're at it? I'm going to be picking Louie Sutherland. Why? Because in a world full of dog shit heavyweights, he is the least dog shit of the dog shit ones. He's not good. He's never going to be ranked. He's never going to be a contender. But I think he's going to be able to beat people like this Jose Montanha de Silva. But again, I don't really know who this guy is. I just know he's 6-1, making his debut. And we had that before. There was another guy who made his debut who I didn't think was good. And he ended up being really good. He ended up getting that uppercut. And he impressed us. But I'm going to keep on picking against the guys I don't know. And if they prove me wrong, I'll start picking you from then on. So far, I know nothing about you. And Louie Sutherland, the 2 losses that he has in the UFC are to Brando Pericic and Walter Walker. You know, like, those are both nightmare fights to take. And the Walter Walker one was on short notice. Brando Pericic is a fucking monster. Like, he's a real contender. And then when he fought Tai Tuivasa, I thought Tuivasa would beat him. He ended up being pretty crafty and winning against Tai Tuivasa, which is not like that impressive. It's like beating Tony Ferguson now. But we don't know anything about Jose Montanha de Silva. And maybe I could have if I watched some fights, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to pick Louie Sutherland. He's in the UFC. He's somewhat proven. And I think that now he also has the confidence to, you know, put together a little streak. I say he wins this one, maybe one more, and then when he gets a shot at the rankings, he's probably going to lose again, but he should win this one. I'm going to go by knockout, actually. People, like, I know he out-grappled Tai Tuivasa, which is why we're calling him crafty. He got the fat man rolls. He's got it all. But he also has decent hands, you know? So I'm picking Louie Sutherland by knockout. Let's move on to Diyar Nurgozhay versus Bruno Lopes. This is just scraping the bottom of the barrel. Whoa. This is just scraping the bottom of the barrel of the light heavyweight division. Bruno Lopes coming off of 2 back-to-back knockouts. He got knocked out by Navajo Sterling, which is aging all right. You know, Navajo Sterling just knocked out Jan Blachowicz, as we are all very well aware. And before that, he got knocked out by Dustin Jacoby. But and that one's not aging that well, I guess, because Dustin Jacoby just got fucking knocked out. And on the other hand, we have Diyar Nurgozhay, who I believe he's one of, like, the only people to lose to Brandon Ribeiro. And I know, like, now Brandon Ribeiro is coming off of, like, a somewhat decent loss. Like, he didn't lose as badly as we thought he would. But, you know, it takes some talent to lose to someone like that. My point is, these guys both suck. That's the real point over here. I'm going to be picking Diyar Nurgozhay because he's actually coming off of a win. I don't remember that guy's name, but it was a Brazilian prospect who everyone thought was going to be pretty good. And Diyar Nurgozhay had a crafty decision over him where he was using a lot of teeps, from what I remember. And I'm not going to break this fight down too much because these guys suck. Like, that's the truth. But I think Nurgozhay is a little bit less bad than Bruno Lopes. Bruno Lopes, like, has not beat anybody even somewhat impressive. And he's also, it just feels like he's the new guy at light heavyweight that you give to people that you want them to flatline. You know, like, that's who Bruno Lopes is now. And that's okay. And so he will be flatlined by Diyar Nurgozhay in round 1. Let's move on to Stephen Asplund versus Guilherme Pat. I'm actually genuinely excited for this, and I'm going to be picking Stephen Asplund. Guilherme Pat, he's not that good. He has 2 fights in the UFC. He won the first one and lost the second one. But even in that win, I picked against him in the next fight because of, like, how unimpressive I think that win was. Let's get this in front of us. He beat Alan Fry Jr., who, like, okay, he was undefeated at the time, but it doesn't mean anything because he was like 5-0 or 6-0. And then after that, he lost to Thomas Peterson, and I picked him to lose to Thomas Peterson because of how bad he looked in the fight before that. It was like a tit-for-tit battle at heavyweight. What are you doing? He hasn't shown a lot of, like, power. I think actually maybe he dropped Thomas Peterson, or Thomas Peterson dropped him. One of them dropped the other one, I don't remember. But Stephen Asplund has a good chin. He genuinely fumbled his last fight. He should have won against Vitor Petrino. It was a close decision loss, but he did rock him on the feet badly and then decided to pull his pants down and show his ass to everybody instead of finishing the fight. We'll call it the Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards moment, except that the fight was competitive besides for that. It's not like he was getting his ass kicked. And the guy who he did that to, I rate pretty highly as a heavyweight, you know? So, like, Stephen Asplund, he has a lot of cardio, and very quick hands for a heavyweight. He's a little bit pillow-fisted, like doesn't have a lot of power, but I think that the speed advantage is going to be with him, and the cardio advantage will be with him as well. I don't think Guilherme has the power to put him away. And so now we're accepting that this fight's going to go into round 2 and round 3, and I have to favor Steven Asplund. I think by knockout, but he can also win this by decision. I'm picking Asplund by knockout. Let's move on to the main card. Whoa, we're on the main card of this one. Billy Ray Goff versus Ty Miller. Ty Miller, I think, is a gigantic fucking favorite. Minus 400. That's it. Okay. That's somewhat reasonable, actually. Ty Miller's pretty good. He's 7-0. A lot of them by knockout. He's coming off of a knockout win over Adam Fugit, who hasn't done that at this point, but Ty Miller has done that as well. And Billy Ray Goff is coming off of a submission loss where he got put out cold by a guillotine by Ramiz Brahimaj. And we got the ref cam for that one. That was crazy. I remember that one. Remember when they had the ref cam and Billy Ray Goff? It looked like a crime was genuinely committed on him. It looked like we were watching actual fucking body cam footage from a brutal assault. That was awesome. They should do that more. Why don't they? I don't know. Anyway, point is Billy Ray Goff has not been winning lately, and I know he's like still young. But so is Ty Miller. They're both in their 20s. I think Ty Miller is 26 and Billy Ray Goff is 28. But I think we've learned where Billy Ray Goff's level is. You're losing to people like Ramiz Brahimaj, and you're 9-4, and Ty Miller is 7-0. And again, if we know someone is not that good, and Ty Miller, he's not proven yet, but at least he hasn't lost yet. We haven't been proven yet that he's not that good. And in his last fight against Adam Fugit, he looked really clean on the feet. I know he got hit with a spinning elbow that cut him open, but besides for that, it was like a very clean performance. And he did knock him out in round 1 still, which is impressive. So I'm going to be picking Ty Miller by round 2 knockout, we'll say. And Billy Ray Goff, even before that, like he was coming off of a decision loss to Trey Waters. And I don't think Trey Waters is all that either, you know? So I'm picking Ty Miller. Let's move on. 2. Amanda Lemos versus Alexia Thainara. So we're all picking Alexia Thainara. And the reason why... Yeah, she's a decent favorite. She shouldn't be that big of a favorite because Amanda Lemos does have fluke ability as a female, and that's always going to be valued. Like, Amanda Lemos could always just knock you the fuck out, and that's the thing to always be worried about. But Alexia Thainara is a very good grappler. Her last 3 opponents she has smudged to a victory, starting with Molly McCann. She beat the great Molly McCann by submission, I think round 1. On short notice, too. She dances out to the octagon, shakes her ass. We all approve of this. And I think she's going to smudge Amanda Lemos because Amanda Lemos is coming off of 2 losses where she was smudged. And so we're just going to roll it down the hill and let Alexia Thainara be the 3rd one. There's not much to break down with this, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because the fight's going to be boring. Unless Amanda Lemos can stuff the takedowns. She's the last person to beat Mackenzie Dern, so that's what's very interesting. But Mackenzie Dern is not exactly known for her wrestling. Like Mackenzie Dern, you have to somewhat engage in the grappling with her in order for it to become a grappling match. And Alexia Thainara is not like that. She will run into you and try to get the takedowns. And when she does, she's pretty good on top. I'm going to be picking her by decision. Let's move on to Darren Elkins versus Yadier Del Val. Let me get my phone out for this one because there's some names I'm going to have to remember. Because Yadier Del Val, he should win this one. And he's a ridiculous favorite. Yeah, minus 800. I don't think he should be a minus 800 favorite. He's coming off of a very bad performance where he lost to Jordan Levitt. And the thing is, like, he's kind of a fraud in a way. The reason why I'm saying he's a fraud is because, wait, why is this not? Okay, I'm starting to get worried that this isn't actually on the card because it's not on Tapology. And that always worries me because, okay, here it is. So it might not be the fucking feature fight, but I think it is. On the UFC website, it's the feature fight, and on Tapology, it's not. So I don't know what the fuck is going on. But assuming this is a feature fight, and it's too late, we're already here. He lost to Jordan Levitt, and before that, he beat Isaac Dolgarian, and that's when he became 10-0, and we thought he was some kind of, like, you know, prospect or something. But that fight got overturned. It didn't get overturned. How did it not? If Isaac Dolgarian got cut from the UFC because of how suspicious that fight was, because the odds just changed. Right, Isaac Dolgarian was the favorite because he was basically undefeated. His only loss was like a split decision fight where he should have won, and then Yadier Del Val just took him down and submitted him easily. And he and Isaac Dolgarian didn't even defend the submission, and so right away that got flagged, especially because there's some weird betting numbers with the fucking lines. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know. I don't bet, so you know that's that. But there was something weird enough that they fucking cut Isaac Dolgarian and kicked him out of the gym. I'm pretty sure, and it just got considered a win anyway. So then Yadier Del Val, people are picking him against Jordan Levitt, and then Jordan Levitt easily outgrapples him. So then you think Jordan Levitt's pretty good, but then Jordan Levitt just got outgrappled and submitted by Joe Anderson Brito. So in saying all that, I'm still gonna pick him. I just have to go down that rabbit hole to explain to you guys why this is he shouldn't be that big of a favorite. He's 10-1 in his last fight. He got completely out grappled. That's supposed to be your fucking thing, man. But I'm gonna be picking him against Darren Elkins because Darren Elkins is fucking washed. He's been washed for a while. I think he's 41. He's coming off of a brutal loss, and he got knocked out his last fight. And it could have been stopped a lot sooner. Like, it got stopped at the end of the round. 2 minutes before that, you could have stopped it. He got hurt to the body by an up kick when he took his opponent down. And then the rest of that, the next like 2 minutes was him just getting brutalized by punches and getting completely cut open. And the ref could have stopped it so much sooner. And when you see all that damage, and you're like, now he's coming back like a year later against somebody young. And I don't care that Yadir Naval, he's not really that good. But he's still going to be better than Darren Elkins because he's younger. So I'm picking him by submission. But he could get a knockout too. I think he has decent boxing. He looks like he has power. I don't remember his, like, there wasn't a lot of striking happening in his fights. But if it's on the feet, I think he'll have more power too. And I think he'll be able to submit Darren Elkins. I'm picking him by submission. Let's move on to the co-main event. Diego Ferreira versus Billy Quarantillo. And I was genuinely going back and forth with this, trying to figure out who to pick. The odds are pretty close. Diego Ferreira is a favorite, which is interesting. And I watched some tape on this, guys. Should be proud of me. I watched tape on this fight, guys. I'm picking Diego Ferreira. And let's first talk about the stuff. So they're both unks, right? Billy Quarantillo is 37, and Diego Ferreira is either 40 or 41, which is very old. But he is Brazilian, and Brazilians, when they're old, they're not that old. But the problem is, and this is very risky, is once they do get old, and this is all old people, Jan Blachowicz, I'm looking at you. Once they get old, they get really old very quickly, right? It becomes from like one performance where they're still basically prime, and so you just think you'll keep on picking them, and then the next performance they're getting knocked out in round one, and then it's over, and then they're never gonna win again. So the question is Diego Ferreira in that stage right now? Like, prime for prime, I'm easily picking Diego Ferreira against Billy Quarantillo. I just think he's better. He has more power. He has the grappling advantage. I think he is more technical. But Billy Quarantillo has the youth advantage right now. And so, yeah, okay, prime for prime, picking Diego Ferreira. Right now, they're both coming off of flat lines. Diego Ferreira just got fucking hit with an overhand by Alexander Hernandez. And, you know, you could have excused this had Alexander Hernandez went on to keep on winning, but then he lost the fight right after that to somebody he absolutely shouldn't have. So it's like, so you just lost to Alexander Hernandez, and he's not even that good. And Billy Quarantillo just lost to Cub Swanson, who is decent, and he did retire, but he right after that, he also flatlined Nate Landwehr. So that, even though it was an old Cub Swanson, it was still a heavy-powered Cub Swanson, who didn't even really have to retire. But I'm just happy he's retiring on top and not off of a loss, because, again, these old guys, you never know, one day, and they're just losing all of a sudden. So is this a time where Diego Ferreira is just going to start losing? I'm going to take a gamble and pick Diego Ferreira. I think that I just watched the Alexander Hernandez fight, and he was, like, doing very well up until he kind of got fluked with an overhand. Alexander Hernandez is just jumping around, running around, not letting Diego Ferreira land anything cleanly, and then he waited for Ferreira to overextend, and that's when he threw that overhand. I don't think Billy Quarantillo will have that kind of footwork to be able to annoy Ferreira so much that he will get him to overextend and land the perfect counter. And he also doesn't have that much power. And I think with Ferreira, you're going to have a lot of power, because if you don't, even if you drop him, he has a good guard. He'll be able to just hold you and get back up, and he has good cardio. They both do. I could see this being a war, but I do give the power to Ferreira. So if they do just like stand and bang, which could very well happen, they're both chinny. They're both coming off of knockouts. Ferreira is old. Like, that's the thing. If he loses, I'm gonna be upset at myself. Like, I should have known better, you know. So this is the last time I'm doing this. If it doesn't work out, are they both 19 and 19? Oh, Billy Quarantillo is 18 and 7, and Diego Ferreira is 19 and 7. Whoa! So they're fighting to see who gets the better record out of this. So I'm gonna pick Ferreira. But if you lose, I'm not picking an old guy ever again. Genuinely, I'm done picking the old guys. So this is the last bit of hope I have left in me. I am picking Diego Ferreira by decision. And then my door just opened. It did not. I don't know what that noise was. Let's move on to the main event of the evening. I can't believe that's the co-main. Diego Ferreira versus Billy Quarantillo is the co-main. What a shitty card. Anyway, the main event. It's finally here. Mateusz Gamrot versus Quillan Salkilld. This is a tough fight to predict again. Gamrot has been very good with losing to anybody who's like in the top 5, and then beating any contender we send his way. He beat Ludovic Klein. He beat what's the other guy's name? The Argentinian guy. We'll find out very quickly. Don't worry. He beat Ludovic Klein. Zellhuber. That's not his name. No, his name is Esteban Ribovic. He beat Ribovic, right? And I picked both of those to happen. I knew he would beat Klein, and I knew he'd beat Ribovic. And the reason why is because it's kind of a big jump up for them, right? Like, Klein, I don't remember what win he was coming off of, but it wasn't like he both of those guys, we're going to put them in the same category of like somewhat prospects, but they haven't beat anybody who's established. They've only beat other like prospects, right? Like Ribovic beat Zellhuber, and he had like a competitive fight with Hawkpross, you know, and versus Salkilld, who just fucking flatlined Hawkpross with a head kick, right? Let's just put that aside real quick. I just wanted to add that to the discussion. And then Klein just lost, right? He just lost to that guy who fucking hit him with all those back of the head shots. And my point is like, they're having competitive fights with people who are clearly like not ranked material, and they're all kind of fighting for will we ever be able to be even in the rankings. Versus Salkilld, who in my opinion has been blowing through these guys. He's been knocking out people like Nasrat Haqparast. He just knocked out Dariush, and I know like knocking out Dariush is not that impressive, but honestly, it wasn't even like a BSD knocking out Dariush where nothing happens in the fight and he just landed the perfect shot it doesn't even have to be perfect these days with Dariush. Jesus Christ, Dariush really has to retire. I never want to see him fight again. It's so sad. But what gives me confidence is the fact that we've actually seen a grappling exchange between Dariush and Salkilld, and Dariush couldn't take down Salkilld. He literally had a single leg for like 2 minutes straight trying to chain wrestle, and he couldn't take Salkilld down. He almost took his back, but he couldn't. And we've seen between Gamrot and Dariush, like, they're at similar levels of grappling, and I think Dariush is actually even a little bit better. And I think if Dariush does have that single leg on a Ribovic, on a Klein, he's getting those takedowns, and that's why Gamrot did, and that's why I picked him to. Those guys have never shown, they've never actually fought a grappler, like a high-level grappler. And Salkilld has. And also the other thing is Salkilld, we've seen him use his grappling in fights. It's not just that like, oh, we've seen him defend takedowns. We've seen his debut fight. It wasn't his debut fight. Yanala Shmuz. It was his second fight in the UFC. He used grappling to win the fight. We saw him submit Jamie Malarkey. So he is genuinely very well-rounded. He has power, he has good strikes, and he has good grappling. And I think and the thing about Gamrot is he gets dropped in every single fight where he's fighting somebody good. Not when, like, I don't think Klein dropped him, I don't think Ribovic dropped him. But like when he's fighting the better guys, Charles Oliveira rocked him a little bit. Charles did just completely out-grapple him. I think Charles is a better grappler than Salkilld, obviously. But it's like, I do think that he is somebody that he had way too close to a fight with Dan Hooker. I thought he won it, but it was still way too close. And it's like Dan Hooker, we're seeing people run through him now. You know, like it shouldn't be that tough of a task. It shouldn't be a split decision that you lost that people have to argue you did more damage, you know, or who did more damage. So I'm picking Salkilld by knockout. I'm going to say round 3 knockout, or round 1 and 2, it's hard for him to find his range, and Gamrot's using a couple takedowns, but it's going to be hard for him to get them, and once he realizes he's stuck on the feet, it's going to be tough. Like, Gamrot hasn't fought anybody very high level and beat them. You can say what's his name? Arman Sarukian win. But even that was like, he didn't really win that fight. It was still a good performance, but like that was kind of a robbery. And then besides for that, we're just thinking of people who were never actually proven and weren't ranked, you know, like. So, like, the Fiziev one was just like an injury. You know, he lost to Dan Hooker. He shouldn't really have, but regardless. And Dan Hooker, again, we don't rate him. So, I feel like I'm talking in circles now because I made all my points already. Quillen Salkilld will knock him out in round 3. But if he can't find his shots, and if Gamrot gets a takedown, it is genuinely over. Because if he gets one, you'll know he can get a couple. So, we'll know pretty quickly what the gist is. But I'm going to be picking Quillen Salkilld by knockout. And that is my complete breakdown of this card. Hope you enjoyed. Come back for the reaction video. And that is all I have for today. See ya.